That was another way the steel tyrants fought their slaves. They crowded them into their wretched kennels, piling them on top of one another until their nerves were on edge, men and women and babies and children, and cooking and washing and dressing and undressing. This condition wore terribly on the women. "Mother, seems like I'm going crazy," women would say to me. "I'm scared to go out, and I go crazy if I stay in with everything lumped on top of me." "The men are not going back?" When I asked the women that question, they would stop their complaints. "My man go back, I kill him." You should see their eyes. I went to Duquesne. Mayor Crawford, the brother of the president of the McKeesport Tin Plate Company, naturally saw the strike through steel-rimmed glasses. Jay Brown and I asked him for a permit to address the strikers. "So you want a permit to speak in Duquesne, do you?" he grinned. "We do that," said I, "as American citizens demanding our constitutional rights." He laughed aloud. "Jesus Christ himself could not hold a meeting in Duquesne," said he. "I have no doubt of that," said I, "not while you are mayor. You may remember, however, that he drove such men as you out of the temple." He laughed again. Steel makes one feel secure. We spoke. We were arrested and taken to jail. While in my cell, a group of worthy citizens, including town officials and some preachers, came to see me. "Mother Jones," they said, "why don't you use your great gifts and your knowledge of men for something better and higher than agitating?" "There was a man once," said I, "who had great gifts and a knowledge of men, and he agitated against a powerful government that sought to make men serfs, to grind them down. He founded this nation that men might be free. He was a gentleman's agitator." "Are you referring to George Washington?" said one of the group. "I am so," said I. "And there was a man once who had the gift of a tender heart, and he agitated against powerful men, against invested wealth, for the freedom of black men. He agitated against slavery." "Are you speaking of Abraham Lincoln?" said a little man who was peeking at me over another fellow's shoulder. "I am that," said I. "And there was a man once who walked among men, among the poor and the despised and the lowly. He agitated against the powers of Rome, against the lick-spittle Jews of the local pie counter. He agitated for the kingdom of God." "Are you speaking of Jesus Christ?" said a preacher. "I am," said I, "the agitator you nailed to a cross some centuries ago. I did not know that his name was known in the region of steel." They all said nothing and left. I went in a home in Monessen, where I heard a woman sobbing. "They have taken my man away, and I do not know where they have taken him." 2 little sobbing children clung to her gingham apron. Her tears fell on their little heads. "I will find out for you. Tell me what happened." "Yesterday 2 men come. They open door, not knock. They come bust in. They say, 'Your husband go back to Russia. He big Bolshevik.' I say, 'Who you?' They say, 'We big government United States. Big detect.' They open everything. They open trunks. They throw everything on floor. They take everything from old country. They say my husband never came back. They say my husband go Russia. Perhaps first they hang him up, they say." "They will not hang him. Is your husband Bolshevik?" "No, he what you call hunky in America. He got friend. Friend very good. Friend come see him many times. Play cards. Talk about damn boss. Talk about damn job. Talk just about all damn things. This friend say, 'You like better Russia. Working people now got country.' My husband say, 'Sure, I like Russia. Russia all right. Maybe workman's got chance there.' This friend say, 'You like tea?' My man say, 'Sure, I like.' Pretty soon they go walk together. My man not come home. All night gone. Next day come high detect. They say my man Bolshevik. His friends say so." "Have you been to the jail?" "Yes, they say he not there. They say he been gone Russia." "Here's $5, I said. "Now you take care of those little ones, and I'll get your man for you." He was in prison. I found him, arrested by the United States Secret Service men who worked in connection with the steel company's private spies. Scores of workers were in jail, arrested on charges of holding radical thoughts. Holding radical thoughts and even the conservative demand for a shorter day, a better wage, the right to organize, were punished with guns and prisons and torture. He, with dozens of others, were later freed, with nothing against them. 500 undercover men working in Manassas, sneaking into men's houses, into their unions, into their hearts, into their casual thoughts, sneaking and betraying. 5,000 Judas Iscariots betraying the workers for a handful of silver dollars. With vermin like these must the worker struggle. Rather would the steel kings pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to these parasites than give the workers a living wage, a wage which would enable them to live as free men. I was speaking in Mingo. There were big crowds there. Most of them were foreigners, but they would stand for hours listening to the speakers, trying to fit the English words to the feelings in their hearts. Their patient faces looked up into mine. Slag, the finely powdered dust of the steel mills, was ground into the furrows of their foreheads, into the lines about their mouths. The mark of steel was indelibly stamped upon them. They belonged to steel, branded as our cattle on the plains by their owners. I said to them, "Steel stock has gone up. Steel profits are enormous. Steel dividends are making men rich overnight. The war, your war, has made the steel lords richer than the emperors of old born, and their profits are not from steel alone, but from your bodies with their innumerable burns. Their profits are your early old age, your swollen feet, your wearied muscles. You go without warm winter clothes that Gary and his gang may go to Florida to warm their blood. You puddle steel 12 hours a day. Your children play in the muck of mud puddles while the children of the 40 thieves take their French and dancing lessons and have their fingernails manicured." As I was about to step down from the little platform, I saw the crowd in one part of the hall milling around. Someone was trying to pass out leaflets, and an organizer was trying to stop him. I heard the organizer say, "No, sir, that's all right, but you can't do it here. What do you want to get us in for?" The fellow who had the leaflets insisted on distributing them. I pushed my way over to where the disturbance was. "Lad," said I, "let me see one of those leaflets." "It's about Russia, Mother," said the organizer, "and you know we can't have that." I took a leaflet. It asked the assistance of everyone in getting the government to lift the blockade against Russia, as hundreds of thousands of women and little children were starving for food, and thousands were dying for want of medicine and hospital necessities. "What is the matter with these leaflets?" I asked the organizer. "Nothing, Mother, only if we allow them to be distributed, the story will go out that the strike is engineered from Moscow. We can't mix issues. I'm afraid to let these dodgers circulate. Women and children blockaded and starving? Men, women, and children dying for lack of hospital necessities? This strike will not be won by turning a deaf ear to suffering wherever it occurs. There's only one thing to be afraid of not being a man." The struggle for freedom went on against colossal odds. Steel was against them, and the government was against them, from the remote government at Washington down to the tiny official of the steel village. There was dissension in the ranks of labor. Ambition and prejudice played their part. Human flesh, warm and soft and capable of being wounded, went naked up against steel, steel that is cold as old stars, and harder than death and incapable of pain. Bayonets and guns and steel rails and battleships, bombs and bullets are made of steel, and only babies are made of flesh. More babies to grow up and work in steel, to hurl themselves against the bayonets, to know the tempered resistance of steel. The strike was broken by the scabs brought in under the protection of the troops, broken by breaking men's belief in the outcome of their struggle, broken by breaking men's hearts, broken by the press, by the government. In a little over 100 days the strike shivered to pieces. The slaves went back to their furnaces, to the mills, to the heat and the roar, to the long hours, to slavery. At headquarters men wept. I wept with them. A young man put his hands on my shoulder. A young man put his hands on my shoulders. "Mother," he sobbed, "it's over." A red glare from the mills lighted the sky. It made me think of hell. "Lad," said I, "it is not over. There's a fiercer light than those hellfires over yonder. It is the white light of freedom burning in men's hearts." Back to the mills trudged the men, accepting the terms of the despot Gary, accepting hours that made them old men at 40, that threw them on the scrap heap, along with the slag from the mills, at early middle age, that made of them nothing but brutes that slept and worked, that worked and slept. The sound of their feet marching back into the mills was the sound of a funeral procession, and the corpse they followed was part of themselves. It was their hope. Gary and his gang celebrated the victory with banquets and rejoicing. 300,000 workers, living below the living wage, ate the bread of bitterness. I say, as I said in the town of Gary, it is the damn gang of robbers and their band of political thieves who will start the next American Revolution, just as it was they who started this strike. 50,000 American lads died on the battlefields of Europe that the world might be more democratic. Their buddies came home and fought the American working man when he protested an autocracy beyond the dream of the Kaiser. Had these same soldiers helped the steel workers, we could have given Gary, Morgan, and his gang a free pass to hell. All the world's history has produced no more brutal and savage times than these, and this nation will perish if we do not change these conditions. Christ himself would agitate against them. He would agitate against the plutocrats and the hypocrites who tell the workers to go down on their knees and get right with God. Christ, the carpenter's son, would tell them to stand up on their feet and fight for righteousness and justice on earth. End of chapter 24.